What is up, guys, and welcome. You know the drill. It's Trending Thursday, so we're looking at Bitcoin, of course, but also the top 3 performing altcoins of today. And a huge welcome to all you new viewers. If you're liking the breakdown today, think about hitting that subscribe button to join the team. And hey, if you haven't already, activate that notification bell because I'm here with brand new videos every single day. Now, guys, let's dive into the charts. Right, guys, but before we get started, we need to, of course, come over to bitcoineasy.io and check out the news and analytics section and get into the crypto loop and down to the market overview to find the altcoins that we're looking at today, the top performers of today. You see here within a sea of red, we can see a few green dots here. One of them is Quant here at the bottom, Quant. That is one that we'll be looking at, and we'll focus, of course, on the largest green circles, therefore the ones that perform the best today. So we have Quant, we have HTX DAO, and then we find another green one here, which is the biggest one. Up here, we can see Toncoin. So these are the 3 that we're looking at today alongside Bitcoin. All right, guys, kicking things off on the largest time frame for today for Bitcoin here on the 3-day chart. We do a top-down analysis as per usual, go down into the daily chart, the 4-hourly chart, and then we move over to the altcoins to see what's up there. And yeah, guys, last 3-day candle that we looked at, we saw that we were forming this hammer candle here right on the 23.6 of the Fibonacci retracement here, where we were tracing the current uptrend. And there we said the bullish thing, of course, now would be to follow up with another bullish candle here to confirm this here basically as a higher low in this uptrend. And then, of course, if we have a bullish candle, then we have the confirmation for this candlestick pattern of the hammer as well. And then we could expect here upside to test at least the 109,000 to 110,000 area. And any 3-day closes above there, then basically would sign, seal, and deliver it here for Bitcoin to put in new all-time highs. But so far, we're here following up with a bearish candle. Of course, we're still holding the line here. We want to stay above the pivot point right at 104,000 bucks. So if we start seeing closes below there, then of course it's likely that we come down here to this range between $100 and $108,000, which will become even clearer in a second on the smaller time frame. So very important here now to hold the line. So $104,000 roughly here, and then to the upside, we want to see 3-day closes above $109,800, and then we have a very clear sign that the trend is continuing upwards here, and then we're also confirming a higher low on the larger time frame, such as the weekly chart, which of course we'll come to on Sunday. And now, guys, before we go over to the daily chart, look at the key areas of interest here as well. You see this one down here, that's the next one in line, how beautifully it lines up with the 38.2. And then, of course, if that breaks, then the next stop here is right at the 61.8. As we know, if the 38.2 fails or we break through it, then the 61.8 has a massive hit rate, and it comes here with a very logical support level, right? If we look at this from a price action perspective, then we can see here that we came out of this downtrend, right? Right down here, we formed this double bottom if we look at it on a closing basis. And then right at this point here is where we broke the structure with this candle, broke the prior high in the downtrend, and then got the trend reversal here and now started forming this uptrend. So from a price action perspective, very strong previous resistance areas such as this one down here, where we can see that we've been trading sideways for a while here until we broke that area. They usually then turn into very strong support areas as well, and that here also comes in alignment with prior support in this entire range. So this range here between $90,000 and $88,000 could very well be the bottom here for a correction if Bitcoin now fails to continue in the uptrend immediately and then consolidates here throughout the summer. Then we can see that a bottom here is very likely between this range and potentially even a bit lower here to the low 80K area, right around $81,000 to $82,000. And there we also see the line in the sand here in the Fibonacci retracement is 78.6. Right, guys, and there we also see something, a very strong moving average that we've been looking at here throughout the entire bull market. And that is very similar to, for example, the 50-week SMA, and that's the 100 SMA here on the 3-day chart. And that is upsloping, of course, and therefore very likely that it's perfectly here in the area by that time as well, right in the high 80K area to low 90K area here between $90,000 and something like $88,000 here. Very, very strong support if we see a deeper correction. Of course, the bullish scenario still is the same thing, guys. We want to confirm a higher low here, then break the previous high and continue in this uptrend. Now over to the daily chart. Here we see the pattern that we, of course, been here looking at for the last couple of weeks. Even before we completed the head here, we were looking at it here up here already, and that's where I told you guys from a price action perspective, this is something that can easily happen if we get a pullback. And we've been anticipating a pullback here for a while now in this uptrend here. We saw that Bitcoin was extremely overheated, also across the board on the high time frames from an oscillator perspective. And now we got the pullback here, and that's why we were saying that if we break down from there, we already formed this left shoulder here, then put in the head, and then it's very likely that we get an underside test of the range of the prior highs here, which we got right here, and therefore we're forming this right shoulder now. And there we see that this is on an upsloping trend line, this head and shoulder pattern. Therefore here the pivot point is right at $104,000. So if we start seeing daily closes below there, then it's very likely that we come down to the key area that we just saw on the 3-day chart as well, right down here between $100,000 and $98,000. And there we see from a Fibonacci retracement perspective here, the entire upturn. There we have the 38.2. We also have the 50-day SMA right here. And then, of course, this key area of interest that has been massive support and resistance throughout this entire time here since winter 2024. So key area down here, and if that breaks, then we can see that is the weekly support level here marked in orange in alignment with the 61.8, the exact same thing that we saw earlier on the 3-day chart, and therefore a very logical support level if this key area up here breaks down. To the upside, we can see that we have a local downtrend here where we formed a lower high, and therefore, of course, that lower high becomes the pivot point now. We want to break that, and that's right at $109,500. Daily closes above there give us a clear sign that we headed upwards to test the current all-time highs here. And then if we get a daily close above $111,750 roughly, that's the current all-time high on a daily closing basis, then of course there's nothing left in our way here towards new all-time highs. And now let's wrap it up on the 4-hourly chart quickly before we go over to the altcoins. We have the symmetrical triangle right after we lost the 50 EMA here. That has been our lifeline throughout the entire range. We are now targeting the 200 SMA down here, and that is of course the deciding moving average always for each chart to decide whether we're bullish or bearish. You can also see the trend line here from the symmetrical triangle. So if we lose this trend line here, we want to ideally just do it with a wick, shoot down here to the 200 EMA and stay in this current range here. And there we see the pivot point here. The same thing, we have a bit of an uptrend going on here locally. And there we want to stay above $104,000 flat, the same number that we saw on the daily chart. If we start seeing 4-hourly closes below there, then it becomes pretty ugly here, and then it's very likely that we headed downwards towards the 100 to 98K area. And then of course guys, then we would also be confirming the head and shoulder pattern. And that of course then, if it gets confirmed, gives us much lower price targets as we saw in the low 90 to high 80K area. Right guys, and then to the upside, of course, we want to take out the prior high here in this downtrend, where we also see the dynamic resistance line here, and that comes all in perfect alignment with the prior high here. So right around $106,700. And there we also see the 38.2 of the Fibonacci retracement from that downtrend in alignment with the dynamic trend line as well. So key to close back above here, right around $106,800, and then confirm above there. That would give us a very clear move here to at least the area of $109,000. And then of course above there, if we start seeing daily closes as we saw earlier, it becomes very likely that we're testing the current all-time highs. And then we know if we break those, then there's nothing in our way here, basically towards $115,000 and $120,000. I'll get back into those targets here in tomorrow's video. Of course, we looked at it before. We used the Fibonacci extensions on the smaller time frames to mark those targets, and we saw how precise those were. So quick reminder here guys, if you're not subscribed, make sure to do so and hit that notification bell as well to catch that video, and of course all of my other updates which come on a daily basis. Now guys, let's go over to these altcoins of the top performers of today. In a sea of red, we found 3 green tokens. Well, there were a couple more, but we look at Quant, Ton and HTX. Nothing that I'm personally invested in. I've heard of them before, all of them actually. And here also have some drawings in the charts already, and we'll stick to the weekly chart actually. I don't want to get into too much detail here. I want to set some alerts with you guys in case we break the key levels. So then we know that there's big room to the upside, and especially on this one here, we can see that this has been trading sideways here basically since 2022. After it put in the all-time high in 2021, when also Bitcoin and everything else put in massive all-time highs, it broke down and never managed really to stay above that key area here of right around $150. So that's really what the bulls want to see here. We see that we came off this key area of interest here again as support. It has been massive support and resistance since February 2021 here. And that is of course then a massive support level that we just bounced off of. And then here to confirm the breakout on a larger scale, we want to get above $160 almost on the dot here. We start seeing weekly closes above that, then it becomes really interesting here. Then we can at least challenge this previous high here, where we saw that we had one single breakout from this entire range here since 2022, and that is right at $224. And if we get above there on a weekly closing basis, then we can expect to challenge the previous all-time highs here between $400 and $425 roughly. But of course, this here is a key level to break now, right at $160. And that's the exact level where we're setting an alert now. And then if that alert gets triggered, then I'll make sure to update you guys over next. So therefore, quick reminder guys, make sure to follow me over there, Pat.Crypto. That's the easiest way to stay up to date with my analysis and everything that I do in and around crypto. And then to the downside, very clear here guys, we saw that we broke the 38.2 now. So very strong indication that we headed up here towards the $130 mark and the 61.8. But if we print a lower high here, for example, or get rejected here in the $160 area once again, then it's very likely that we come back down here to the $50 to $45 range, which of course has been a key area of interest here since February 2021. So not the prettiest chart, guys. All these tokens that put in massive all-time highs in 2021 and then failed to go up there again are definitely not on my radar and not in my portfolio at all. And therefore nothing that I'm interested in until we see a massive break there of that key resistance level. And if we see such a big break, then of course we can always expect a massive move after that. And now on to the next one, Ton, whatever that means, Toncoin. And guys, also not that new. You can see I already have some drawings on it here. We can track that back all the way till 2021 actually. And there we saw we printed new all-time highs here back in June last year, and then actually put in a lower high here when Bitcoin started printing all-time highs and started forming this symmetrical triangle here. And there we can see very clearly where the pivot point is here to get a breakout from this current local range here. That's right at $3.90. So weekly closes above there here would send us here to at least this key range here. You can see another strong area of interest down here in this area, right at $5.75. And that then also would come in alignment here with the dynamic resistance line of the symmetrical triangle. Therefore a key area here to get a breakout. And then if we take a Fibonacci retracement here from the entire downtrend from the top to the current bottom, then we can also see that that's a key area above here. You see massive support previously, the 38.2. So very, very strong area of interest here, right at $4.50 to $4.75. Anything above there here would then likely send us to the 61.8, right at $6, which sits in alignment with this key area of interest right here. And then of course breaks above there would send us up here to the 78.6. Another key area of interest right at $7. And then above there, nothing in our way here towards new all-time highs. And here to the downside, we can see that we're in a local uptrend as well. And there we see the previous low here on a closing basis, right at $2.80. So if we start seeing closes below there, then of course we would also breach the dynamic support line here. And then that would take us down here to at least this area right around $2, which of course is also a key area of interest. Right guys, and now we go over to HTX, the last token for today. Here's something very young. We see it coming from January 2024, so just about a year and a half old. And there we see that we're in an uptrend here. Of course, not very reliable. Nonetheless, we have 3 touch points on this dynamic line. So a confirmed trend line here. And yeah guys, what do we see here? We look at the Fibonacci retracement, for example, from the entire downtrend so far. There we see that we're trading right below the 23.6. And there we also see that that's the only really strong key area of interest just above us here. Of course, guys, really hard to say how this token will perform. As we see oftentimes, they put in huge all-time highs when they just get released and when the market is pumping, and then they fail to continue upwards with Bitcoin and the leaders of the market to print new all-time highs in consecutive cycles. And then we end up seeing lower highs, and then these tokens end up having extremely low demand and just become another shitcoin that no one's interested in. So always careful with all these tokens and always wait for these key confirmation levels. And actually the key area that we want to see broken now here on a closing basis is just above us here. You can see we're trading and closing right below there. Now we put in a pretty ugly pattern here. We saw that we put in a shooting star followed by a spinning top and a bearish candle. So if we follow up here now and don't break this pattern now and start closing above these body closes here, then we can expect here a move to the downside and then of course a retest of the trend line, which is then really the line in the sand. Otherwise the price would drop down here to this area of interest again. So guys, best case scenario here is a break of this current range here on a closing basis, and then we can expect at least a 30% move to the upside and likely even 50%. And if then the entire market continues, then it remains to be seen if we manage to print a higher high here or if it just becomes another shitcoin. All right. That's a wrap, guys. Bitcoin and altcoins done for today. What are your thoughts? Drop them in the comments down below. Let's get the conversation started. And guys, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe and smash up that notification bell so you catch every single one of my updates. And to stay up to date with my full analysis and everything I do within the crypto space, join me over next on Pat.Crypto over there. If anything major breaks, you'll hear it there first. And And of course, guys, I'm back tomorrow with Altcoin Friday. We're looking at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, and Sui. So don't miss out. And as always, happy trading and see you soon.